Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to what is arguably the most significant moment in the modern history of Philippine tennis. We are standing on the precipice of a new era. For decades, the Philippines has been a nation passionate about sport, a nation that rallies behind its heroes with a fervor that is unmatched anywhere else on the globe. We have seen it in boxing, we have seen it in basketball, and we have seen it in weightlifting. But tonight, the spotlight shifts. Tonight, the eyes of the sporting world and the hopes of over 100 million Filipinos turn to the hard courts of the Rizal Memorial Tennis Center. The wait is finally over. The silence has been broken. For the first time in history, the Women's Tennis Association has arrived on Philippine soil. This is the inaugural WTA 125 Philippine Women's Open, a tournament that signifies not just a sporting event, but a cultural milestone. And who else could possibly open the curtains on this historic stage? Who else but the prodigy, the trailblazer, the young woman who has single-handedly dragged Philippine tennis into the international conversation? Alexandra Eala is home. But this is not just a homecoming parade. This is not a ceremonial lap of honor. This is a battle. And the narrative gods have scripted a confrontation that is thick with tension and history. In the opening round, the match that will christen this tournament, Alexandra Eala, seeded number 2 and currently sitting at a career-high ranking inside the world's top 50, will face a ghost from her past. She goes head-to-head against Russia's Alina Charaeva. Why is this matchup so critical? Why is the air inside the Rizal Memorial so thick you could cut it with a knife? Because this is a rematch 6 years in the making. They have met only once before, back in September 2020, on the clay courts of Spain. That day, a teenage Alexandra Eala was dismantled. She lost in straight sets. It was a learning curve, a harsh lesson from a powerful Russian opponent who, at the time, had the upper hand in experience and physicality. But that was then. This is now. We are looking at a transformed Alexandra Eala. We are looking at a Grand Slam junior champion, a player who just days ago was trading blows with the world's best at the Australian Open in Melbourne. She returned to Manila not as a hopeful junior, but as a legitimate WTA Tour-level threat. However, Alina Charaeva is no pushover. The Russian arrives in Manila ranked world number 169, hungry, dangerous, and holding the psychological edge of that previous victory. She knows she can beat Eala because she has done it before. The stakes could not be higher. A loss here in the first round, in front of a home crowd that has waited a lifetime for this moment, would be a heartbreak of monumental proportions. A win would blow the roof off the arena and set the tone for a week of tennis fever. Tonight, we are going to break it all down. We will analyze the court speed at the newly refurbished Rizal Memorial. We will dissect the technical improvements in Eala's serve that have propelled her into the top 50. We will look at the Russian style of Alina Charaeva, flat, hard, and relentless, and how Eala plans to counter it. We will discuss the psychology of the home crowd. Is it a weapon or is it a weight? This is more than a match. This is a coronation, a test of fire, and a celebration of a sport finally finding its home in the archipelago. The world is shocked because the Philippines has finally arrived at the big table. The stage is set. The players are ready. History is about to be served. I'm your host, and this is your definitive deep dive coverage of the Philippine Women's Open. Buckle up. We are just getting started. Section A, the venue and the context. Let's strip away the hype for a moment and look at the concrete reality of what is happening in Manila right now. To understand the pressure resting on Alexandra Eala's shoulders, you have to understand the venue. The Rizal Memorial Tennis Center has stood for decades, witnessing generations of Davis Cup ties and regional games, but has never seen a field like this. The renovation for this WTA 125 event has been extensive. The surface is fresh. A hard court that reports suggest is playing medium fast. This is a crucial detail. Alexandra Eala, being a lefty, thrives on courts where she can get the ball to skid away from her opponents on the ad-court serve. A medium-fast hard court rewards aggressive baseliners, but also penalizes hesitation. If the court is playing fast, it favors the flat hitters. And this brings us directly to the problem of Alina Charaeva. But before we get to the Russian, let's talk about the atmosphere. We are talking about a sold-out crowd. In tennis, usually, the crowd is polite reserved. In Manila, expect a Davis Cup atmosphere for a first-round WTA match. We saw glimpses of this when Eala played the SEA games, but this is different. This is professional tour points. This is ranking implications. The Eala army will be out in full force. The question we need to ask is, can a 20-year-old absorb that energy without letting it disrupt her focus? We saw at the Australian Open that she can handle big stages. Her match against Alicia Parks was a masterclass in composure until the very end. But playing for your country, in your country, is a different beast entirely. Section B, the evolution of Alex Eala. Let's deep dive into Alex Eala's current form. If you look at her trajectory over the last 12 months, it is not just about ranking points. It is about physical and technical maturation. 2 years ago, the knock on Eala was her serve. It was attackable. It sat up at the pro level against women who hit the gym as hard as they hit the ball. A weak second serve is a death sentence. Eala and her team at the Rafa Nadal Academy have overhauled that motion. We are now seeing reliable speeds in the 170 to 180 kilometers per hour range on the first serve. But more importantly, the placement has improved. She is finding the tee and the wide slider with much more consistency. Against a player like Charaeva, the lefty slider out wide is going to be Eala's bread and butter. Charaeva is a right-hander. That lefty serve into the backhand or righty is the most classic advantage in tennis. If Eala can open up the court with that serve, she gets the first big forehand. And Eala's forehand, when she has time, is world-class. It is heavy, it has topspin, and she can flatten it out down the line. However, we need to address the Australian Open result. Losing to Alicia Parks in 3 sets was tough. But let's look at the stats. Eala won the second set. She was competitive. Parks is a big server, a power player. That match was a perfect warm-up for Charaeva because it forced Eala to defend against pace. Charaeva doesn't have the same serve as Parks, but she has similar ground stroke aggression. Eala is coming into Manila match tough. She has had the reps against high-caliber opposition. She isn't coming in cold. Section C, the opponent, Alina Charaeva. Now, let's shift our focus to the woman across the net. It would be a grave mistake for Filipino fans, or for Alex herself, to underestimate Alina Charaeva. Charaeva is a product of the Russian system. If you know tennis history, you know what that means. Discipline, mechanics, power, mental toughness. Born in 2002, she is just a few years older than Alex, which puts them in the same generation. Let's go back to that match in September 2020. Spain, ITF circuit. Charaeva wins 6-3, 6-3. Why did she win? At that time, Charaeva was simply more physically developed. She could hit through the clay better than the young Eala. She bullied Alex from the baseline. Charaeva has a very flat backhand. It stays low. On a hard court like Rizal Memorial, a flat backhand that skids low is a nightmare for a player like Eala, who likes to take the ball at waist height to generate her topspin. Charaeva's ranking of 169 is deceptive. The WTA rankings between 100 and 200 are a shark tank. These are players who are one good week away from the top 100. Charaeva has been grinding on the ITF circuit, and she has had deep runs. She is hungry. She knows that all the pressure is on Eala. Charaeva walks onto that court with nothing to lose. If she wins, she's a villain who spoiled the party, and she advances. If she loses, well, she lost the number 2 seed at home. That psychological freedom makes her incredibly dangerous. We also have to look at Charaeva's recent form. She has been playing on the European circuit, dealing with a variety of surfaces. She is versatile. She isn't a one-dimensional ball basher. She has good hands at the net, something she showed in that 2020 match. If she decides to bring Eala forward to test Eala's transition game, that could be a tactical wrinkle we need to watch out for. Section D, tactical breakdown, the keys to the match. So, how does this match play out tactically? This is where the chess match begins. First key, the first 4 shots. Modern tennis is decided in the first 4 shots of the rally. Serve, return, serve +1, return +1. Eala must dominate the serve +1. When she lands at first serve, Her next shot, the forehand, must push Charaeva behind the baseline. If Charaeva is allowed to stand on the baseline and dictate with her flat ground strokes, Eala will be doing a lot of running. And while Alex moves well, you do not want to be retrieving against a Russian power hitter on a hard court. You want to be the aggressor. Second key, the second serve return. Charaeva's second serve is attackable. Eala needs to step inside the baseline. We've seen Alex do this more lately, taking a return early to steal time. If Eala can punish Charaeva's second serve, she will create breakpoint opportunities. But if she plays passive, chipping the return back just to start the point, she lets Charaeva off the hook. Third key, the mental battle of the first set. The first 20 minutes of this match will be critical. The crowd will be screaming. Eala's adrenaline will be spiking. It is very common for home favorites to come out tight, overhitting, missing by inches because their muscles are tense. Charaeva will likely try to extend the rallies early, bore Eala into making mistakes, and quiet the crowd. Eala needs to manage her energy. She needs to play high-percentage tennis for the first 3 games, get a feel for the ball, let the nerves settle, and then unleash the weaponry. Fourth key, the weather. Manila is humid. Even at 7 p.m., the air is heavy. The ball travels differently in humid air. It feels heavier on the racket string. This favors the physically stronger player. Eala is acclimated to this. She grew up in this heat. Charaeva is Russian, though she trains in Europe. As the match goes deep, if it goes to a third set, the humidity becomes a silent teammate for Alex Eala. She needs to make this match physical. She needs to make Charaeva work for every single point. Section E, the historical significance. We cannot overstate what this match represents for the WTA Tour in Asia. For years, the Asian swing has been dominated by China and Japan. The Philippines has always been a basketball nation, but the emergence of Alex Eala has shifted the tectonic plates. By hosting a WTA 125, the Philippines is signaling that it is ready to be a tennis destination. This match between Eala and Charaeva is the litmus test. If the crowd shows up, if the energy is good, if the tennis is high quality, this tournament stays. It grows. Maybe it becomes a WTA 250, maybe a 500. Alex Eala is not just playing for herself tonight. She is playing for the future of the sport in her country. She is playing for every young girl in the province who picks up a racket and dreams of Wimbledon. That is a heavy backpack to carry. But if we have learned anything about Alexandra Eala over the last 5 years, it is that she has broad shoulders. She doesn't shy away from the light. She steps into it. The narrative of revenge against Charaeva is compelling, yes, but the real narrative is arrival. This is Alex Eala planting her flag on home soil and saying, "This is my house." As we wrap up this deep dive, let's take a moment to appreciate the rarity of this event. In the career of a professional tennis player, playing a tournament on home soil is a luxury, not a guarantee. Many great players from smaller nations travel the world for 40 weeks a year, living out of suitcases, hearing foreign languages, eating foreign food, always a visitor, always a guest. Tonight, for the first time in her professional career at this level, Alex Eala is not the guest. She is the host. She will hear her native tongue shouting encouragement from the stands. She will feel the humidity she was born in. She will see the flag of her nation, not just next to her name on the scoreboard, but draped over the shoulders of thousands of fans in the stadium. But let us not forget the sport itself. Tennis is a cruel game. The ball does not know who the favorite is. The net does not care about history. The lines do not adjust for narratives. Alina Charaeva has traveled thousands of miles not to be a tourist, but to win. She is a professional. She has a job to do, and she has the tools to do it. So what will it be? Will we see the coronation of the Queen of Philippine tennis? A triumphant first step toward the title in Manila? Will we see Eala banish the memory of that 2020 loss and showcase just how far she has come? Will we see the lefty forehand painting the lines and the fist pumps that ignite the arena? Or will Alina Charaeva play the role of the spoiler? Will the Russians' flat hitting and tour experience prove too steady for the occasion? Will the pressure of history prove too heavy for the young shoulders of the local hero? These are the questions that can only be answered between the lines. The analysis is done. The predictions are made. The warm-ups are finishing. The chair umpires ready to call time. To the fans heading to Rizal Memorial, bring your energy but respect the game. To the fans watching around the world, do not blink. You are watching the birth of a new capital on the tennis map. Alexandra Eala, Alina Charaeva, the Philippine Open. Round 1. This isn't just a match. As the headline says, this is history. Thank you for joining me on this extensive preview. We will be back immediately following the match with a complete breakdown of every set, every game, and every point. Until then, enjoy the tennis. Good night.